Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's take up the daily quiz for today. The first question: which of the following statements are correct? President's rule is imposed through the invocation of Article 356 of the Constitution by the President at his discretion based on the Governor's report. President's rule is initially valid for a period of 6 months. Later, it can be extended for a period of 3 years with parliamentary approval obtained every 6 months. The 44th Constitutional Amendment in 1978 brought in some constraints on the imposition of President's rule beyond a period of 1 year. Amongst the given statements, the first statement is incorrect, so option C is the right answer. See, under Article 356 of the Constitution, President's rule or the so-called state emergency can be imposed on states and as well as on union territories with the assembly. This provision of the Constitution can be invoked in case of failure of constitutional machinery in the state, or when there is a hung assembly, or if the government has lost its majority. In such cases, the governor submits a report to the president highlighting that the state can no longer function according to the provisions of the Constitution, and in such a case, the president might decide to proclaim president's rule under Article 356. But however, this is not a discretionary power. That's the reason why the first statement is incorrect. President's rule is proclaimed by the president on the advice of the Union Council of Ministers, and this is not a discretionary power enjoyed by the president. Once the president's rule is proclaimed, it will be initially valid for a period of 6 months, provided if it has been approved by the parliament, that is both houses of the parliament, within 2 months of its proclamation. Further, the president's rule can be extended for up to a maximum of 3 years, provided if it is approved once in every 6 months by the parliament. But if the extension is beyond 1 year, then there is a constraint that has been brought in by the 44th Amendment to the Constitution in order to ensure that Article 356 is not misused to topple state governments and delay elections in states. As per this restriction, if the president's rule has to be extended beyond 1 year, then either a national emergency should be in operation, or the Election Commission of India should certify that it is not possible to hold fresh elections under the present circumstances. Despite these restrictions and constraints, President's rule has often been misused by the center, especially by the ruling party, to target the state governments that are ruled by opposition parties. The abuse of this provision has also led to the abuse of the office of the governor. And hence, in relation to Article 356 and the powers and functioning of the governor, a lot of constraints and restrictions have been placed by the S.R. Bommai case, where the Supreme Court laid down a set of guidelines for the center, and several recommendations have also been provided by the Sarkaria Commission and the Punchi Commission, which dealt with center-state relations. This question on President's rule has been asked because we have a related article in the Hindu. According to this article, the Union Cabinet has approved the imposition of President's rule in Puducherry following the defeat of the Puducherry government during a vote of confidence on the floor of the House. Now let's look at the second question. Sri Lanka has been facing diplomatic challenges with which global institution in connection with its civil war? The correct answer is option B, the UNHRC. See, the UNHRC is in news for several reasons, and there are multiple articles related to it in the Indian Express and as well as in the Hindu. According to this article in the Indian Express, Sri Lanka is going to face a challenge again at the UNHRC with regard to allegations of human rights violations that were committed during the last phase of the civil war between 2006 and 2009 against the Tamil minorities. Let's look at the third question. Which of the following statements are correct? The Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands are located in the South China Sea. It is a source of maritime dispute between China and Philippines. Both the statements are incorrect. Option D is the right answer. See, the Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands, they are located in the East China Sea, not the South China Sea. In Japan, they are referred to as the Senkaku Islands, and in China, they are referred to as the Diaoyu Islands. This is a disputed territory between China and Japan, and even the Republic of China that governs Taiwan becomes a party to the dispute. So both the statements are incorrect, hence option D is the right answer. This question has been asked because we have a related article in the Hindu. The article refers to a recent maritime clash that took place between Chinese and Japanese vessels near the Senkaku Diaoyu Islands. And following this military confrontation, the United States has expressed concern and it has reiterated its commitment to defend Japan against any external threats. See, back in 1960, US and Japan had signed a mutual security pact during the days of the Cold War, and under this pact, the US had committed to defend Japan against any external threats. And in response, China has rejected these statements of the US and it has branded this treaty as a product of the Cold War era. Now let's look into the fourth question. Which Indian community shares a strong historical and cultural connection with Myanmar? Amongst the given options, the correct answer is option B, Tamils. See, this question has been asked because there is a related article in the Hindu which highlights the historical and cultural connections of the Tamil community with Myanmar. This connection dates back to the medieval times when the Cholas extended their influence across the Bay of Bengal into Southeast Asian countries. And during the peak period of the Chola Empire, the Tamil community had migrated to Burma and settled in several parts of Burma. This connection further strengthened during the colonial rule as well. And for several centuries, the Tamil community, especially the traders and the workers, they have lived in Myanmar or Burma. But following the military coup of 1962, the Burmese Indians were thrown out by the Myanmar government, and several lakh people of Indian origin had migrated back to India and they were resettled by the Indian government in different parts of Tamil Nadu. Now this issue is back in news because Myanmar has recently witnessed a military coup again, and hence this article explores the historical and cultural connections between the Tamil community and Myanmar. Now let's look at the fifth question. Which of the following statements are correct? The Production Linked Incentive Scheme or PLI scheme offers incentives to boost domestic manufacturing and to cut down on import bills. Apart from inviting foreign companies to set shop in India, the scheme also aims to encourage local companies to set up or expand existing manufacturing units. The scheme is applicable only to the mobile manufacturing and electronics sector. Amongst the given statements, the third statement is incorrect, so option C is the right answer. See, the PLI scheme was launched by the Government of India last year in March 2020, and the scheme has been applicable for the financial year 2019 to 2020. Now, this scheme is being further extended to promote domestic manufacturing, and it offers production-linked incentives to both foreign companies and as well as to domestic manufacturers to boost the domestic manufacturing capabilities of India. This is designed to make India self-reliant and to reduce India's import dependency. However, this scheme is not just applicable to mobile manufacturing and electronics, but it has also been expanded into pharmaceuticals, medical devices, IT hardware, and as well as to a few other specific electronics related industries. This question has been asked because according to this article in the Hindu, the Union Cabinet has approved the expansion of the PLI scheme for the pharmaceuticals and IT hardware industries, and it is aimed to boost domestic manufacturing and as well as to create employment within the country. Now let's take up a practice question from the 2018 prelims paper. Which one of the following foreign travelers elaborately discussed about diamonds and diamond mines of India? The correct answer is option B, Jean-Baptiste Tavernier. It was this French traveler who wrote elaborately about diamond mines in India, and reportedly he was the one who discovered or procured the popular Tavernier blue diamond, most probably from the Kollur mine in the Guntakal region of Andhra Pradesh, and later sold this diamond to the French king. And during his travels in India, he had extensively documented diamonds and diamond mines of India. Now coming to the fact of the day, we shall talk about Pragati or proactive governance and timely implementation. This is an e-governance initiative that was launched by Prime Minister Modi back in 2015, and it aims at starting a culture of proactive governance and timely implementation. The main focus of Pragati is to set up a platform to integrate the union government with the state government and the local administration so that the ongoing government schemes can be tracked and monitored effectively. And this in turn would provide for effective implementation and as well as for accountability. Under this initiative, a technology platform has been built that brings together three latest technologies, which includes digital data management, video conferencing, and geospatial technology. Through this platform, all the relevant data with regard to ongoing government schemes, along with their geospatial locations, are brought together, and through a video conferencing, the Prime Minister himself personally keeps a track of some of the ongoing projects by working closely with the state governments and the local officials. Its objective is to promote e-transparency and e-accountability with real-time presence and provide for the exchange of ideas and thoughts amongst the key stakeholders. It helps in addressing the grievances of the public and as well as in monitoring and reviewing the implementation of important government programs. This platform also promotes the spirit of cooperative federalism because through the platform, the Prime Minister gets to interact with the chief ministers of all the states on a regular basis and as well as with senior officials of the union government and the state governments. It allows the Prime Minister to keep track of the programs by working with secretaries of the union government, chief secretaries of the state, and all the other concerned officials at the state and the local level. So Pragati creates this three-tier platform through which governance and administration can be improved through proactive monitoring and review of ongoing governance initiatives in order to ensure their timely implementation. This topic was taken up for discussion because according to this press release from the PMO, the Prime Minister has chaired the 36th Pragati meeting. So this concludes the discussion for today. Thanks for watching.